This week, Samsung is shipping out their flagship Galaxy S21. Mine just arrived after pre-ordering it when it was announced, and immediately this box screams Apple iPhone 12. It's an extremely thin box for a smartphone, and that is because Samsung omitted a charging brick just like Apple. And it's a real shame they had to copy yet another move from Apple, but we'll get more into that later. We're just gonna jump right into the unboxing. We have to cut the two pieces of tape, lift off the top of the box to reveal the Samsung Galaxy S21 in Phantom Gray. As for the accessories, all we have in the box, like I kind of alluded to earlier, is a packet containing a SIM card ejector tool. We have some paperwork, that's all standard, and a USB-C to male USB-C charging cable. No fast charging wall adapter is included, which is just silly for Samsung to do this. And since the cable isn't a USB-A to USB-C cable, even less people are going to have a compatible charging brick or even a free USB-C port to charge up this phone. So I'm just not a fan of this move. An $800 smartphone should have the included components necessary to charge the damn thing in the box. But enough of that. First impressions of the Samsung Galaxy S21 after peeling off the plastic. This phone feels excellent in the hands. It's actually nearly the same size as the iPhone 12 that I've been using prior, although it's a bit narrower, making it easier to hold. And the frosted glass on the rear, I think, was a great design choice as it hides a lot of fingerprints. You'll still pick up some smudges, but I just like the way it looks and the very minimal branding. Of course, we have that new camera appearance where the metal frame morphs around the three main rear-facing camera sensors, contrasting it from the frosted glass back panel. And I don't think it looks too bad. I think from a functionality standpoint, it still causes the phone to rock when on a flat surface because the sensors protrude from the rear. But that's a pretty common trait with phones these days, sadly. I will say that it seems like Samsung removes more features than it adds nowadays. Sadly, there's no longer a micro SD card slot for expandable storage, something that's been a thing for many, many years. We also have no headphone jack, of course, and no Bixby button that you can reprogram to quickly open up the camera app or something like that. It's just a very simple flagship Galaxy smartphone. For better or worse, that's to be determined. The in-display fingerprint scanner is now 1.7 times larger and more responsive than before. That's going to be a huge feature now that masks are being mandated. There's still face unlock, but having this backup fingerprint scanner is going to be really, really convenient. And I just got to say that every time I switch back to a Samsung phone after not using one for a while, I remember that Samsung is really the champ when it comes to display quality. This 6.2-inch dynamic AMOLED display is beautiful. It has 120 Hz refresh rate. It has a peak brightness of about 1300 nits. This is just the cream of the crop of smartphone displays, and I think it should be one of the main reasons why you pick up a Galaxy smartphone in the first place. And the software continues to get better each iteration. We have Android 11 running out of the box with One UI 3.1 running on top. Samsung has added Google Now off to the left of the home screen, making it more resemble stock Android, which is a great new addition. I really like Google's updates and news and all that. And navigating the operating system is just quick, responsive, smooth, stutter-free, like it should be. I'm just finding it harder to dislike Samsung software ever since One UI was released because it definitely was way better than TouchWiz, and it continues to get better to this day. But a lot of that, of course, has to do with the really good hardware, like the display quality, and it's 120 Hz that makes everything really smooth. Plus, there's the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 octa-core chipset, the latest and greatest 5G chipset from Qualcomm, and it's paired with 8 GB of RAM, so it should handle everything you throw at it. Other areas I'm looking forward to testing include the cameras, of course. There's a 12 megapixel main f1.8 sensor. We have a 64 megapixel telephoto and 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor with support for 8K video. This phone does not support the 100x zoom that the Galaxy S21 Ultra does support, but I don't think that's going to be a necessary feature. We're going to have to obviously wait and see, but the cameras should be very competitive with the other high-end smartphones out there. There are stereo speakers via the front call speaker and the bottom-facing speaker port. We have a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, which is decent for 2021 standards, nothing crazy. But with 5G antennas zapping up more juice and a relatively large display, I'm curious to see how it holds up. Thankfully, it supports wireless and reverse wireless charging, so you can charge up a pair of Galaxy earbuds just from setting them on the rear. And we have 25-watt fast charging, but of course you have to have a supported wall adapter, which is not included in the box. Overall, the Galaxy S21 feels like an incremental update over the Galaxy S20. However, that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just a thing. It feels great in the hands, and if you like the appearance of the new camera module, then all the better. Obviously, I can't say that you should go out and buy this phone right away just based off my first impressions and experience with this phone already. But I will say, stay tuned for my full review, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or let me know if you want me to cover anything in particular. Just let me know what you're thinking. As always, I'm BoHD from Slash.tv. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you right back here in the next one. See ya.